Hello everyone, welcome along to our webinar today, all about Assignment C on the Level 5 course. Just in case we haven't encountered each other before, let me introduce myself. My name is Mairead and I'm based in the west of Ireland, and I've been with the TEFL Academy since 2015, and I've been teaching for over 20 years now. So hopefully I will have lots of insight to give you when it comes to the topic of this webinar. I'm sure most of you attending, indeed all of you attending, are on the Level 5 course. Because as I said, this webinar is specifically about the Level 5 Assignment C. If you're here from the Level 3 course, you're welcome to stay, but do bear in mind that this is only about Level 5 Assignment C. As always, at the end, there will be a questions and answers session. So any questions you have for me about Level 5 Assignment C, that will be your time to shine. Okay, we have a lot of information to cover today, so let's begin. I'm just going to turn up the volume. There we go. I turn up the volume on my speakers just so I know you can hear me. Okay, let's begin with an overview of what Level 5 Assignment C is all about. So it is made up of 4 different things. It is made up of an evaluation of a textbook, which will be in the form of an essay. There is a section on selecting an authentic text and the creation of 3 follow-up activities for a group of advanced students. Thirdly, there is a second essay motivating the choice of text and tasks. And then, as always, finally, you will end with a bibliography. So there will be 4 sections in total in this assignment. As always, we will provide templates for you. So all you need to do is put your work on the templates. If you have already done Assignment A and B, you will be familiar with the fact that there are spaces on the templates for you to write your answers into. You do not need to delete anything from the templates. All of the instructions will be there. The templates will guide you through. And as ever, you will find all of the associated templates on the instructions page for Level 5 Assignment C. So let's break down all these different sections of the assignment, just so you are super clear what needs to be done in each section. Let's begin with the first thing, the first section. And as I said, that is an evaluation of a textbook. Now, this is really good practice for real life, because I'm sure that when you start teaching, you will be working from textbooks and you will be making the decision day in, day out about whether you want to use the material from the textbook as is, whether you want to make some changes, whether you want to find your own stuff. These are decisions we make multiple times every day when we're using a textbook. Just because it's in the textbook doesn't mean you need to use it, okay? You can use it if you want, but they're not perfect by any means. You will often look at a textbook and be like, oh no, I don't want to use that today. I'm going to do this instead. Conversely, other days you look at it and you'll say, okay, that's a really fun task. I'm not going to change a thing. I'm going to do it. So all of this to prove that section 1 on evaluating a textbook is really, really good practice for real life teaching. Now, we provide a unit from a course book called Cutting Edge. Okay, that is the unit that we want you to evaluate. You do not have to go find your own textbook for this. Please don't. You must use Unit 1 from the Cutting Edge Advanced coursebook that is provided for you, along with the other assignment templates at the bottom of the instructions page. So you must use that Cutting Edge Unit 1. You then have to look at the unit, provided for you. And you have to write an essay to evaluate the suitability for a class of advanced students. Now, you don't have any particular students in mind for this section 1, okay? You are just thinking about the level of advanced, okay, C1 students. Would this book be suitable for them? It is a unit from Cutting Edge Advanced, okay? So hopefully, yeah, the level should be okay. But, you know, that is up to you to decide. To guide your evaluation, we have provided you with a checklist of points to consider. You will find this checklist in Unit 10 of the course materials. You will also find it on the assignment instructions page. And just for fun and to make sure you don't miss it, I'm also going to show you the checklist now. There will be a lot of questions on the checklist, but for your evaluation, you just need to choose 4 questions from the checklist, okay? Let me say that again. Even though there are a lot of questions to consider on the checklist, you only need to choose 4. Whatever 4 you like, okay? It's up to you entirely. So let's take a look. Here are some of the questions from the checklist. You will see questions about whether the material is clearly structured and ordered logically. Are the materials graded? Like, are they level specific? Is there plenty of practice? Is there a teacher's book? This one perhaps is not so applicable because we will not give you the teacher's book. We're just giving you Unit 1. Does it provide exercises that students can do independently? Okay. Is the material attractively and clearly presented? Do you think there's a balance of all 4 skills and language areas? Is there an interesting range of different activities? Are the reading and listening texts interesting and authentic looking or sounding? Is the material culturally appropriate for, you know, a mixed nationality class? Will the students be able to afford this book? So you can maybe Google and find out how much this course book costs nowadays, and do you think that's affordable for students from all over the world? Are there grammar reference pages, vocabulary lists provided? Lots of questions for you to consider when evaluating the suitability of a course book. Remember though, for the purposes of assignment C, you only need to choose 4 of these points and elaborate on them. Okay. So when you're finished, your evaluation will look like an essay. Yeah, it will have like 4 paragraphs, maybe 5, if you're doing a special introduction. The word count will be on the template. As always, there will be plus or minus 10% margin on that word count. So yeah, that is section 1. Evaluate the unit of cutting edge that we have provided for you. Choose 4 of the points from the checklist and write an essay, okay, whether you think it is suitable or not. You know, we want to hear your opinions on this because it's not just you describing what's in the course book. It's about you evaluating, like giving an opinion about it. Okay, we want to hear your voice. There are no right or wrong answers on this. Okay, we just want to hear, read, I guess. We just want to read your thinking behind it. Okay, so that is section 1. Now, moving on to section 2. This is the longest section of the assignment C. So section 2 is all about selecting an authentic text. Okay, just one. Selecting an authentic text. Now, for section 2, you do have a specific group of students in mind. Okay, we are giving you a class profile. Just to help you, to guide you in your selection of an authentic text. So for the purposes of this assignment, your class is a mixed nationality general English class of 15 advanced C1 or C2 level adults. If you are familiar with the CEFR levels, C1 is advanced level and C2 is proficient. So these are super, super, super high level learners, okay? So there are 9 women in the class, 6 men. The ages are between 20 and 40, okay? And all of these students are living and studying in an English-speaking country. So for the basis of this task, you can imagine that you are teaching in an English-speaking country, maybe in Ireland, maybe in the UK, maybe in the US, maybe Australia, maybe New Zealand, Canada. Such a long list, okay? But imagine that you are teaching and your students are learning in an English-speaking country, okay? At the very, very, very foremost of your mind should be the fact that your text must be appropriate for all students in the group, okay? So we do not want any texts containing racism, sexism, violence. We don't want any swearing. Steer clear of religion, okay? Steer clear of controversy, okay? Because bearing in mind that these students are from all over the world, okay, we don't know what their backgrounds are necessarily, okay? So we do not want to choose any text that might be in any way offensive to anybody from different countries, all right? I cannot stress that highly enough. We really do not want anything that could be offensive for our students. I totally appreciate that there is a very fine line between topical and offensive. So if you are on the borderline of that, consider erring more on the side of inoffensive general interest, okay? Perhaps a topic like food, a topic like travel, okay? A topic like work, or, you know, everyday problems that all adults face, like maybe stress or finding work-life balance, okay? Or, you know, it could be about something, you know, some nice topic related to a hobby or an unusual interest, okay? Just, yeah, make sure that it is inoffensive, okay? Above all, no swearing in the text, please. Okay, so you are going to select an authentic text to fit this class profile. There is more information on the class profile on the instructions page, so make sure you read it carefully, because it might, you know, it might guide your choice when it comes to finding a text that is suitable for this imaginary class. All right, so as I said before, your text needs to be authentic, okay? That is very much the key word for section 2 of assignment C. So what are authentic materials? Well, they are materials that highly proficient speakers of English would use in their everyday real life context, okay? Authentic materials are not created for teaching English, okay? They are created for the consumption, yeah, by an English-speaking public, okay? Authentic materials are really important because they enable students to immerse themselves in the language as it naturally occurs, okay? For example, as I said at the beginning of the webinar, I'm from Ireland, I'm living in Ireland. So when I go to the newsagents, yeah, and I see all of these newspapers, I see the Irish Times, I see the Irish Independent, okay? I see the Daily Mail, for example. All of those are examples of authentic material because they are not newspapers written for students of English. They are written for speakers of English, okay? The same if you are in the US, if you're in Australia, the UK, yeah, all of the media, yeah, that is all authentic because it is all aimed at an English-speaking public, not specifically at students of English. Now, I'm perhaps showing my age by talking about newspapers. Of course, it doesn't need to be like print media, like a physically printed source. It could be online websites, could be online blogs, online newspaper sites. Of course, it doesn't need to be a physical book or a physical newspaper. Okay, it can be an online source too. Now, an authentic text could also be an audio. Okay, for example, if I wanted to listen to a TED Talk and I thought, oh, that's a really interesting TED Talk, I'm going to use it with my high-level learners. Yeah, that also totally counts as an authentic text. Okay, so, text isn't just written, it could be audio too. So bear that in mind. You have a choice, either a written text or an audio. So basically anything that you would encounter, in terms of media, if you were in an English-speaking country, that will be an authentic text aimed at an English-speaking public. Okay. Just as an aside, something interesting for you to understand, what is the difference between authentic and EFL teaching materials? Well, specific EFL teaching materials are non-authentic material, okay? Non-authentic material is anything that has been designed specifically for the process of teaching English. So things like worksheets, textbooks, language learning websites, interactive apps, etc. They are not authentic, okay, because they have been produced specifically for learners. Whereas we want you to find authentic material, which is material that has not been designed for learners. It's been designed for the general English-speaking public. Okay, if you have any questions about authentic materials and what is or what isn't authentic, please put your comments in the chat box and we will talk about it again in the Q&A session. Okay, so carrying on with section 2. Once you have chosen your authentic text, be it a written text or an audio, you are then going to select 12 vocabulary items, C1 or C2 level words, collocations, and phrases. Okay, because in the classroom, we always pre-teach difficult vocabulary. And, this is no different, even when we're teaching very high-level learners. So I would recommend running your text through a vocabulary profiler, such as vocabkitchen.com. That will tell you what is the CEF4 level of each word. So if you see that there are a ton of C2 level words, it might be worth pre-teaching those, okay? Or, if there's a ton of C1 words. The vocab profiler may not necessarily pick up phrases or collocations, so be on the lookout for those yourself. Okay, when it comes to teaching high-level learners, multi-word phrases, like multi-word items, are far more useful than single items. Okay, so for example, you might find the word hysteria, but looking more closely, you might see it within the collocation. Hysteria is mounting about. So hysteria is mounting. Oh, that would be a wonderful collocation. Okay, so instead of just teaching the single word, see if you can teach a collocation that it appears in, or a set phrase. Okay. One I read the other day in an article, life is no bed of roses. Oh, so true, but also what a beautiful phrase. Okay, so instead of just thinking about it as roses, for example, you could teach the whole phrase, life is no bed of roses, or whatever subject is no bed of roses. So be thinking like that when it comes to selecting your vocabulary to pre-teach. Now, it's super simple. All you need to do is highlight the 12 items that you would pre-teach. You don't need to do like a vocabulary table, or you don't need to tell us how you would pre-teach them. You just need to highlight them in the text, nothing more. I know Microsoft Word have this really nice highlight tool where it comes up bright yellow. Use that, or whatever similar tool you have in your word processor. So we just want to see 12 items highlighted, nothing more. Okay, it couldn't be easier. If your computer and your formatting is going a bit crazy, we will also accept a list of the 12 items at the end of the text. So like if you can't highlight for whatever reason, just pop them in a list. As long as we know, as long as we can see clearly what your 12 items are, we are happy. Okay, so after you've done that then, after you've highlighted your 12 words or items to pre-teach, you're going to do some more really important things. You are going to create 3 follow-on activities. Now, notice here, I'm using the word create. You won't find anything online, like anything perfectly tailored to your text, because your text will be unique to you. So you are going to create, you're going to make them yourself. Again, this is amazing practice for real life. So your 3 activities will be a dictionary skills task, an online activity, and a third follow-on speaking task. Okay, so dictionary task, research task, follow-on speaking task. Bear in mind that you are teaching very, very, very high level students here, like advanced and proficient. So your activities should be challenging and engaging. Okay, do not do anything simple, okay, because that would be too easy for them. It would be boring for them. So make sure to bear in mind the level of your students and make your activities challenging and interesting. It goes without saying, you are not allowed to use AI to make your activities for you, okay? They have got to be your own unique creation, okay? Look on this as, amazing practice for real life, when you will be doing this sort of thing all the time. So when you create your 3 follow-up activities, you will be doing all of this on the assignment template, okay? And you will see that there are sections for you to put in all of the information on the template, okay? One of the sections you will see for each one of the tasks is teacher instructions. So when we say teacher instructions, we mean here what the teacher has to do, not what he or she would say to the students, okay? So you need to give like a rundown of how the task would unfold from beginning to end. So you might write something like, divide the class into even number, or divide the class into an even number of small groups of 4 students. Give half the groups handout A, give the other half handout B, give students 10 minutes to discuss the questions, get feedback from the whole class, ask 2 students to present their ideas. This is what we mean by teacher instructions. We don't want a word for word account of what you would say as the teacher, but we do want you to tell us how the activity would unfold from beginning to end. By far the easiest way to do this is to use the imperative voice, like, the instruction giving command, like divide the class, distribute the handouts, put the students into pairs, conduct feedback, okay? Because using those command verbs, it's very clear, very concise. That is exactly what we want to see. So, bear in mind that you want your assessor to be able to visualize your task as you intended to unfold. Okay, paint the picture for us with your teacher instructions. So, as I said, the first task you are going to create is a dictionary skills task. Okay, so the focus is on promoting dictionary usage for vocabulary at an advanced level. So remember all of that vocab that you highlighted in your authentic text. Yeah, perhaps you can create a task based around that vocabulary that will encourage your students to use the dictionary. Think about a dictionary. There is so much information in there. It goes way beyond just definitions, doesn't it? There's also information on what word class it is, the pronunciation. You'll have the IPA transcriptions in there. It might give you common phrases. Yeah, it might give you opposites. It might give you information on whether it's a positive connotation, negative connotation, or neutral. There is so much information in a dictionary, okay? And your task must encourage students to exploit the dictionary, okay? Again, the easiest thing to do is probably to base it on the vocabulary that you have selected in the text, in your authentic text. But bear in mind that you also have a bit of freedom to introduce related vocabulary if you want. Okay, so say, for example, your authentic text is about the environment and you've selected 12 words or phrases. You can make your dictionary task about different words or phrases related to the environment. Okay, so, as long as the theme is consistent, we are happy. We just want you to create a task that will encourage students to use a dictionary and to improve their dictionary skills. So provide clear instructions to look for maybe meaning. Meaning is perhaps already covered because you've pre-taught the meaning, but you can encourage students to explore form, word class, pronunciation. You can expand their knowledge by encouraging them to look for synonyms, maybe antonyms or opposites. You can encourage them to explore word families. The possibilities here are endless because of the sheer amount of information contained in dictionaries. All right. Now, the important thing is that if you say that you will give students a worksheet containing certain questions, you must also include that worksheet. Okay, or if you say that I will give students a handout with 12 questions on synonyms and antonyms, we need to see that worksheet. Okay, so bear that in mind. If you plan to use materials, which you more than likely will, yeah, you need to include it. Okay, we need to see what it is. Okay, so when you've done the online task, when you've done the dictionary task, you also need to create an online task. Now, an online task is not just a comprehension task, okay? It is not just reading or listening to the text again. It is not that. Instead, an online task is a research task. So in this task, we want you to create something. We want you to create a worksheet that will encourage students to expand their knowledge of the topic through online research. For this task, you must provide a worksheet. Okay, this is not an option, not optional. Okay, you have got to provide a worksheet to guide students' research in the topic. Also, because it's an online research task, you need to include at least 3 websites for them to use in their research. Okay, www.google.com is not suitable. That's far too general. We want you to give them like at least 3 specific sites that they can use in their research task. Okay, and remember, you will need to reference these websites in your bibliography. Okay, so include, the URL on your website, but also, or on your worksheet, but reference the websites fully in your bibliography at the end. Okay. let's look at an example then of what I mean by all of this. Imagine your authentic text was all about travel. Okay, imagine students read about the top 10 places to visit in 2025. Your research task could be asking the students to plan a trip. Okay. Or it could be a task to encourage them to research other types of holidays or other types of destinations. Bear in mind the high level of the students, right? C1, C2, questions should be challenging. You know, we don't want really easy yes/no questions or really easy questions that they can answer with 1 or 2 words. Okay. We don't want questions that they could just answer from prior knowledge. Yeah. Your questions have got to entail research. Okay. Students must apply some sort of critical thinking skills. All right. So if, for example, your authentic text was about travel, your research task could be, you and your partner want to go on safari. Okay. The thing is, you know nothing about safari. Okay. So you are going to have to research and plan this trip from scratch. Okay. Here are some things to consider. What countries offer a safari experience? What will you do for accommodation? Okay. Well, firstly, what is your budget? Because, everything else will depend on the budget. Can you find some travel companies that you like the look of, and why are they appealing to you? What specific things would you like to do on each day of your trip? So because you've asked students to research a safari holiday, chances are students won't know a lot about safari holidays off the top of their heads. So they will be obliged to use the internet to research safari in order to complete your task. Okay. That's why it's important too for you to provide websites for them to use, because if not, we all know from our own lives how we can just go down rabbit holes of research and we end up reading and never making a decision. I know I do. So we want you to give them specific websites to use for their research. Because ideally students must collate information from several sources. We want them to read deeply on the topic, okay, in order to complete their task. So that is the point of the online task. Your task must encourage them to do online research to expand their knowledge of the topic of the authentic text. Okay. And you must give them a worksheet to guide their research. Okay. Finally, the third task is a follow-on speaking task, okay, that you must also create. So this is a speaking activity you would do after you have used the text for a comprehension lesson. Okay, so again, this is giving them a chance to speak about the themes explored in the authentic text. Okay, it must be a speaking activity, so maybe something like a role play, a debate, a discussion, etc. Okay, there is a short section in Unit 5 on follow-on speaking activities, so maybe you can head back there and refresh your memory. The sky's the limit here, as long as you create a speaking activity where students can apply critical thinking skills and improve their fluency. Okay, this is all about them giving their opinions on the topic, expanding on their knowledge, just basically speaking about what has been explored in the authentic text. I always really like personalization for this task. Give students a chance to say if they agree or disagree and why, or if they enjoyed the text or not and why. Yeah. Have they learned anything from the text? Yeah. If so, what? Yeah. And how valuable was it to them? personalization can be a really, really good one here. Just allowing students to express themselves in a related speaking task. Okay, basically, yeah, it's up to you. The sky is the limit, as long as it's a speaking task and it relates in some way to the authentic text. Okay, and that brings section 2 to a close. Okay, it is the longest section, but it's a fun one, and it will definitely prepare you for real life lesson planning and real life in the classroom. So coming towards the end then, what about section 3? Well, section 3 is another essay, like it's going to be another essay format. After creating the tasks and choosing your text in section 2, you must write an essay in which you motivate your choice of text, vocabulary, tasks, etc. Okay, so in other words, it helps us understand your thinking behind your choices. On the template, you will see that we give you different headings to use. Okay, you don't have to delete those headings. They're just there to guide you as to what you need to write in each section. Okay, the total word count for all 4 paragraphs is 700 words. As always, you have plus or minus 10%. All of this will be stated very clearly on the template. Okay. We don't want bullet points. We don't want random sentences. Okay, we want like essay style or paragraph style. Okay, full sentences, academic English. Do your best with it to present your rationale behind your choices. As always, before you submit your assignment and your essays in particular, proofread them thoroughly, please. Okay, and then section 4. Well, it's the shortest, and you'll already have done a lot of them for assignment A and B. Section 4 is your bibliography. So any texts, visuals, websites, course units used in your assignment, you need to detail them in the bibliography. As always, they need to be referenced properly. There is a referencing guide in the assessment handbook. You will find a link to the assessment handbook at the beginning of the instructions page for assignment C. As ever, before you submit your assignment C, you will need to run it through our CopyLeaks AI and plagiarism checker. Okay, there are extensive instructions for this at the bottom of the instructions page for the assignment. As you know, there is a tolerance level of up to 30%. So if you get 30% similarity, that's okay. Go ahead and submit. The authentic text that you choose will be on a separate template, and it will have a really high plagiarism score, but it should, okay, because you've taken it from an online source. So do not worry about the score for your authentic text template, okay? A high score is to be expected. Your main template score, though, needs to be 30% or lower. As ever, the assessors have discretion, like even if your score is below 30, but they recognize a task from another place, they do have authority to go investigate, and you will be asked to resubmit if we find that you have plagiarized either intentionally or unintentionally from any other previously submitted assignment. If you need any help with anything, be it assignment instructions, be it with understanding authentic materials, be it related to CopyLeaks, send a ticket to tutor support, and we are always there, okay, 7 days a week. So any doubts at all about assignment C, send your ticket to tutor support. All right. And that is it. It's a lot of information. It sounds like there are a lot of different components to this assignment, and I guess there are, but honestly, it is pretty straightforward. As I said, once you download the templates and you read the instructions, okay, it is very, very easy to complete these templates, okay? So, questions. Do you have any? Now is the time. Perhaps you're just about to start working on Assignment C. Perhaps you're already mid-Assignment C and you have a couple of doubts. Now is your time. Please type in any questions that you have. If you don't have any questions yet, just say hello. Tell me where you are. I love to know these things. It always brings me joy to see all of the different countries that people are tuning in from. So I will give you all a few minutes to think of your questions, because I know it can be hard sometimes just to dredge up a question on the spot. Sometimes our brains need a minute to think and catch up. So whenever you are ready, you can start those questions coming in. Okay, so we have our first question. Hello, Doido. Will we be graded pass or fail or pass merit distinction for our assignments? Good question, Doido. It depends on the course that you are enrolled in. If you are enrolled on the very newest iteration of our course, you will be graded pass fail. If you enrolled maybe before December 2024, you will be graded on pass merit distinction bands. So the answer is it depends on when you enrolled. Pre-December 2024, pass merit distinction. Post-December 2024, pass fail. Okay, so there we go. Just check when you enrolled and you will know. All right, thank you. As always, when you submit Assignment C, it can take up to 5 working days to be graded. The likelihood is it will be graded far faster than that, but it can take up to 5 working days. And when your work has been assessed, you will receive an email saying that feedback has been posted. So when you get that email, head along to your homepage, go to the drop-down menu on the top right, select grades, select your course, and you will see your feedback at the bottom. All right, so hello, Helen. Hi, everyone. I am Helen, and my question is related to the dictionary task. Very good. I've already started work on it. How many vocabulary items should I provide for the dictionary task? So, Helen, I'm going to be super annoying and vague and say that there is no certain limit of items for you to provide, but do consider the level of challenge that you need to provide for these high-level students. Okay, so perhaps a very short task might not develop their dictionary skills very well. Okay, so bear that in mind. Personally, I would probably go for like 6 or 7 or 8. Okay, but again, depending on the task, I might go for more. I might decide to go for like very, very detailed research for fewer words or moderately detailed for more words. It just depends on the task. As long as it is challenging and it will keep the students going, and it will really test and develop their dictionary skills, that is good enough for me. All right. So yeah, consider the level of challenge, Helen. All right, thank you. Good question. It also reminds me of another question a lot of students have, Helen. They ask about how long the tasks should be. Well, we don't give you a length for each task because, you know, it's up to you and the task you choose. Personally, if I were in the classroom, I would like a dictionary task to be about 20 minutes long. Like it will give them proper practice, but without dragging on too much. For the research task, it might be a bit longer, maybe 40 minutes, because, you know, we want them to read around the topic. And for a follow-on speaking, again, maybe 20, 25. But, this is not written in stone. This is just my personal opinion. It will all depend on the tasks that you choose. Okay. I guess they could be anything from like 15 minutes to an hour. I certainly wouldn't do a task longer than an hour, because who can focus for that long in the classroom? So yeah, good. All right, thank you, Helen. Great question. So we have Tracy in Connecticut. Very good. Welcome, Tracy. East Coast. You're just across the ocean from me. I'm right on the West Coast in Ireland, and you're right on the East Coast of USA. So we're probably as close as we could be with an ocean in between us. Okay, we have Kenushar in South Africa. Wonderful. I really want to visit someday. And we have Klaus in Australia, in Brisbane. Oof, Klaus, it's like the middle of the night for you. 1:45. Ah, good for you. Thanks for showing up. That's dedication, Klaus. Thank you so much for staying up till the very early hours in Australia to join us today. Okay. For me, it is 4:45 in the afternoon. So yeah, right slap bang in the middle of my day. We have Patricia in Mexico. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us, Patricia. I lived for a really long time in Spain, so I knew a lot of Mexican people. I had a lot of Mexican friends in Spain. And yeah, I want to say that, I haven't heard you speak, but I love your accent. I love the Mexican accent. I love the vocabulary. I love the people. I love everything. I love the food. So yeah, hopefully, Patricia, I will make it to Mexico one day, and I will be so happy to do so. We have Aisel in Zimbabwe. Welcome, Aisel. Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining us. We have Ireta Andres in Atlanta, Georgia. Oh, that is like, okay, I know I just said I love the Mexican Spanish accent, but yeah, Georgia is way up there in terms of my very, very, very favorite accents. Just the way people from Georgia say Georgia. Oh, I love it. It's just the most amazing accent. I wish I could hear you talking. And Emmanuel in the UK Midlands. Very good. Just across the water the other way. Welcome. Thank you all so much for coming along. It just, brings me joy to see all of the different countries that you're all tuning in from. When I was teaching, I lived in a lot of different countries, but always around Europe, like always kind of Western, Eastern Europe. So when I see the South Africa, Australia, Mexico, the US, it just makes me want to pack up and go again. There's so much world out there to see. All right. So do we have any questions, guys? Any more questions about assignment C? I think it's super, super important that you are clear on exactly what authentic material is. Okay. We get a lot of students submitting work that is from English language learning websites like learnenglish.com or LinguaPress, and we just have to say, look, you've got to resubmit your work because this material is not authentic. So if you have any doubts about what is authentic and what is not, please ask now, because, your authentic text forms the entire basis for section 2. So you will save yourself a lot of trouble and resubmitting by making sure that your text is actually authentic. Okay, so yeah, any doubts about that, please ask. If you have any questions about the dictionary task that we didn't cover with Helen, or if you have any questions about the online task and what that entails, or if you would like more information on follow-on speaking tasks, please throw in a question. Perhaps you have some doubts about the evaluation. Now is your chance. Now is your chance to ask anything you wanted to know about Assignment C. You're so close to being finished. Like, if you're thinking about Assignment C, oof, you are so close. You are one assignment away from getting your hands on your certificate and going out there into the world as a teacher. So, Ireta, let's have a look. Can I ask what advice you have for educators switching to this field? I have learned so much and have noticed that it's different than teaching in the States. Okay, yeah, nice question. Not related to Assignment C, but seeing as we have no Assignment C questions at the moment, I am more than happy to answer. Ireta, I always think teaching is teaching, okay? The content may change, the classrooms may change, the students will definitely change, but at the end of the day, teaching is teaching, okay? And if you have experienced teaching in one field and one context, you will be bringing so much to this context of TEFL. I would say if you're coming from, say, elementary school, high school, into the world of TEFL, you will probably feel like you are doing less in the classroom. I hear this all the time from university professors or high school teachers or elementary school teachers. They feel like they're not talking as much. They feel like they're not leading as much. And that is accurate, because in the world of TEFL, the teacher is very much the facilitator. Like, we set things up, but then we turn it over to the students as soon as we can. Like, we do not spoon feed or guide as much as you might in other teaching contexts. We do a lot of, keeping our teacher talk time as low as we can and as concise as we can, so as then to leave all of the time and all of the space to the students to do the talking, to explore the topics, etc. So, a lot of teachers who come to TEFL from other contexts always feel in the beginning like they're not doing enough. And I always tell them, no, you are. You're doing plenty. You're doing more than enough. Remember, it's all about the students having the time, having the space to speak, to practice. Okay. So yeah, that would be, I guess, my top tip, having trained a ton of teachers who have come to TEFL from other disciplines or other contexts. So hopefully that made sense and that helped somewhat. It's a different type of teaching, but at the end of the day, teaching is teaching. All right. So Doido, is there any way to ask for a grading system, though I've applied after December 2024? No, I'm afraid not, Doido. All of the post-December 2024 are pass-fail. But you know what? Even the people who are doing the pass merit distinction, their certificate will be exactly the same as yours. It will not say pass merit distinction on their certificates. It will just say pass. Okay, so you are at no disadvantage by having a pass fail. And of course, you will receive all of the feedback, okay, as the pass merit distinction people would too. Okay. So Nucha, hello. Will this webinar be repeated? Yes, absolutely. So if you go along, Nucha, to our YouTube channel, so go to YouTube, search for the TEFL Academy, you will see our channel. We have all of the webinars, going back years at this stage, okay? All of the webinars are there. And this specific webinar will be there by Monday, okay? So yeah, definitely check out our YouTube channel. Okay, search for the TEFL Academy. It will be there. Okay. I can also remind you, did you know that the TEFL Academy has a podcast now? So one of my colleagues and I do a podcast every Wednesday. Okay, we release a podcast every Wednesday, all about different topics on the world, different topics from the world of TEFL. Okay, a lot of them are like how to teach effectively, but there are also really fun episodes like, why we got into TEFL, things we have learned as TEFL teachers about the world. So if you are interested in listening to us talking about the world of TEFL once a week, every Wednesday, you can check out our podcast, TEFL Unlocked, and you will find us on Spotify. You'll find us on iTunes. I think there's a link to our podcast on your homepage, okay, on your dashboard. So yeah, alongside checking out our YouTube channel, please also check out our podcast. We would love to hear what you think. Okay, so I do not see any other questions. And given that we only have a couple of minutes left anyway, I'm going to wrap up. If you do think of a question though, throw it in. And as long as I'm still here, I'll answer it. So as ever, we would love to know your opinions on this webinar. We always want to give you topics that you want to learn about. Okay, so if you could give us any feedback on this webinar, we would love to read it. You can scan the QR code here, or I will also type the URL into the chat box so you can get there a bit more quickly. If you have any suggestions for webinar topics that you would love to listen to, please send a ticket to Tutor Support and we will pick it up there. Let's see. Okay, so here is the URL in the chat box too. Okay, so thank you all so much for coming along. It's been lovely talking to you all for the hour and seeing where you are all tuning in from. Klaus, I hope you get to go to sleep now. And for all of the rest of you, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. All right, take care, everyone. Hopefully we'll see each other again soon. Goodbye.